Tevez sta solo, Tevez al limite dell'area, fa fuori tutti, Tevez, si apre la porta, Tevez, gol, da dietro, Pirlo dentro,
Hey Juventini, welcome back to the All Juve Cast channel, where of course it's all Juve all the time, and this is the post Juventus Venezia match podcast. I've got Anthony, I've got Omer. We're gonna recap the 2-1 victory from Juventus. Okay, so it's another victory Monday, and it's based on the results. One that Anthony predicted yesterday and said, look for Roma dropping points against Bologna, and that seals the deal. Juventus has qualified for the Champions League next season. Okay, so it is all sealed. But does that make things all good in Juve land for the Juventini? Not necessarily. We're going to talk about this, okay? Yeah, a lot of mixed feelings. We're going to tackle all that. We're going to get into the highlights of the match and all the surrounding topics today. If you're checking this out on your audio outlets, get over to YouTube, okay? Subscribe to the channel. Quick reminder for everybody, like this video, subscribe to the channel, because you're all automatically entered to win the Vlahovic away kit, okay? That's right. In a couple weeks, that's going to be given away. Another quick reminder as we get the business out of the way, check out stripedheartsapparel.com. All right, here's the Lippy dedication tees, and then we've got the throwbacks to the crew necks, throwbacks to obviously the 2001 and 1994 jerseys. Let's get after this one today. Anthony and Omar here. We're going to get into the highlights. We got Jeremiah coming in here. We got Jat right out of the gate. Ciao, fellas. Ciao. I'm going to tackle this one and start off. Should we get to the highlights, boys, and not waste any time?
Pitter patter, get at her.
Let's do it. Okay, we're going to start off with the highlights of this one. Let's get right into it. So, kick off this one. Juventus comes out, guns blazing. Okay, so a lot of pressure put on Venezia, putting them back. Here you have the ball chested down wonderfully and then ripped by Pellegrini. And this one, he rattles off the bar. You can see off this angle, the goalie almost overcommitted on his dive. So the trajectory of the ball obviously had him fooled. But unfortunately for Pellegrini and Juventus, does not go in. Juve did not have to wait very long, though, however. And the new addition to the lineup, someone everybody was highly anticipating watching, was Miretti, who puts a great ball back post, and De Ligt heads on, and then the birthday boy, Leo Bonucci, okay, who we're lucky to have on the show with us today, heads home, okay, getting the 1-0 lead to Juventus, okay? So great start. Fantastic start. There's the Selly. He's got the Selly going. And, yeah, great start. At this moment, guys, I'm thinking, based on our predictions and everything, that we're going to steamroll. Like, it's going to be a steamroll. Were you guys thinking the exact same thing after
100%.
Juve starts this match like this?
100%.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, why wouldn't you think? Now, we've got this thing, a little bit of a let up. And here you have Venezia. Of course, it took a little bit after that goal for us to truly let off, but we did let off steam a bit. And here's Aramu. That guy, man, I'm telling you. He was the one that had the goal in the previous outing. It was one of our trivia questions yesterday. And then here you have him having a good rip, but Szczesny looked like an easy save. It was actually a good save by him. Challenging one anyways, harder than it looked. He makes a big stop there. Then you have Venezia. They continue to put a little pressure. Here you have Danilo. You've got Bonucci with a player on his back. So Henry's over here, and then there's a player right here. Danilo actually moves in on the cross to the player ahead of him. It actually frees up the header for Henry, and luckily he misses, and not by much.
Not by much at all, no.
Gotta say, at this point, it's like, okay, we have let off. We need to get it going again and put this team under. And obviously now, not a whole bunch left in the first half. Second half, Juve comes out. We are chasing that second goal, but not as hard. I expected the beginning of the second half to be like the start of the game, basically, and us come out like, let's try and seal this thing and clinch it. Here you have a rip from Morata. The side rebound comes out. Unfortunately, we just don't get to it in time as it gets cleared out. And then Venezia starts to come at us. Here you got a free kick again, Arami, but Szczesny does very well on this, reading it the whole way and not biting to the short side and making a great save there. Then you have this play, and it's funny because we were talking about it on the watch along, Anthony and myself. He said Rabiot can play a great game. This one, it's not just him. You see all three of our midfielders, Miretti, Rabiot, and Zakaria. All three of them, these two guys slipped in behind. Even through all that, this goal is a hell of a strike from Aramu from that distance and hitting it off the volley. So he gets chested down here by his teammate, and Aramu just smashes this thing. And Szczesny can't get there quick enough, and it's in there for the equalizer. And all hell's breaking loose, and I was losing it because, again, it felt like yet another match where we are trying to figure it while the result is still in question. You guys agree with that? Feel the same way on that one?
It's hard to say that you didn't think it was not coming. Like they had some chances, but when you don't finish your chances, we had few, and you don't secure the ball. I guess a team like Venezia, something like this is bound to happen. You and I were talking, like you said, about on the live show. It just had that feeling. It's just going to take one shot, one deflection, and there it was. But this was a hell of a shot, man.
It was a hell of a shot. Omer, your thoughts at this point when they equalize?
The goal was in the air. I felt it was coming because Juve just let up, and it happens every game. Every game, there's a long period where you would just let off and let the other team have another go and another go, and eventually they score. If there's anything I can say for those smaller teams from the league, is that they do take their chances. They get like 3 or 4 good chances in a game. One of them goes in, while Juve, even Inter, Milan, they have 10, 15, and eventually 1 or 2 goes in. So the scoring percentage is high, which is fine. It happens like that in every league with every small team. They know that that's what they have to do. But it was a beautiful goal, beautiful volley, chested down by Peretz to Aramu. And I might be lying, but maybe his last goal was against us also, before that goal.
That other one from the 1-1 earlier in the season, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember if he scored another one. I think he did it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't doubt it.
So he gets this one, 1-1. Hell of a hit. It's got to be said. And now the question mark remains, can Juventus turn it up again to find another goal? Well, to the birthday boy go the spoils. We get a corner kick here, and again, Miretti puts one in there. Perfect spot right in the mixer there too. And headed down, and Bonucci goes in there and just pretty much walks this thing in there, okay, and just make sure he gets his body in good positioning. And there's the Selly, and there you go. The brace from Leo gets it done, and Juventus gets out of here. Get me the hell out of this game. 3 points. And obviously with the result that came yesterday, that sees us qualified. All right. So now we can get into all the goods of it and whatnot. I want to say hi to everybody that's now joined us, and the live chat's basically taken off. And you've got RBCom saying top 4 secured. Now time to focus on Merda. We're going to get into all that as well. And let's get to man of the match before we get into all the outlying topics. Man of the match for this one, I want to hear your guys' man of the match. Let's start with Anthony. And, of course, everybody live, get your man of the match in here. Anthony.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard not to pick Bonucci, but I'm gonna go a bit of a different path. I'm gonna break the mold a little bit. I'm gonna say Miretti, what he showed coming out, from the young team to the first team, poise, confidence. He was directing the troops. You could see him like directing passes, pointing where he wanted things to go. The easy one is Bonucci, but I'm going to give it to Miretti yesterday. He played a hell of a game for his first game up.
There you go. Omer, who are you giving your man of the match to?
Yeah, I agree with Ant, but I will go with Bonucci. It's his birthday. Come on. You can let him have it.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Look, It's awesome, all the hype and everything that we were waiting for and anticipating out of Moretti. It's awesome that he had that, and we're actually discussing him being in that mix. That is awesome. Now he is fully deserving of more opportunities and more shots, but more importantly, I hope this is like a little bit of a sign, not for us to take it to an extreme. Anthony and I talked about that during the watch along yesterday. Let's not go to the extreme now where we start following all these youngsters and call for every single one of them to get in there. Make no mistake, Moretti was a standout at the youth side. Okay. He was standing out. He deserved the test. He passed the first test, but there's more tests along the way. Now it becomes continuity. It becomes stiffer competition and challenging teams. So massive props to him. It's huge that he's even in this discussion in his first start. Love it. For me, Bonucci, he got the 2 goals that ultimately saw the result come to Juventus, and we needed it. We absolutely needed it. So let's go with him and the birthday boy there. Now, let's just get right into this. In terms of the matches, Moretti, I kind of just gave a little bit of a thought here on the youngsters and everything. How do you guys feel in terms of the discussion and the youngsters? And do you guys believe that, because there still remains this crazy belief that with Max Allegri, we will not be able to take advantage of the fantastic work that's happening in that U23 side and everything that Cherubini's built? Are you guys, does this give you guys faith? Did you have belief all along? Where do you stand on it? And has anything changed after Moretti's outing?
Omer?
Yeah, it's not all youngsters do so well on their first game, and it was impressive to see him and the way he plays, the way he thinks. Maybe he's a bit more accustomed to the way the game works these days with the fast passing, one-touch passes. You can obviously see the difference when you're looking at Bernardeschi or Morata or Quadrado, who take forever to pass the ball. And he was like, the ball got to him. He looked before he passed it, and in one touch gave it to an open player. He even almost had a goal. Now, having said that, there are 2 sides to this argument. One side is, I'm impressed. Bravo for him. He did great on his first outing in Serie A. The other one is, should we worry that 2 of our best players were Moretti, an 18-year-old on his first outing, and Rabiot, who we know how good he is and how limited he is. And these were our best performers yesterday, from the midfield up. And 2 goals came from Moretti crosses, one from the Ligt to Bonucci, one from Danilo to Bonucci. So there's no involvement of the attack in any of the goals, which is pretty sad actually against the last place team in the league when we're fighting for Champions League. So I'm happy for him, but on the other end, we need to look at Juve and say, if it's that easy to be the best player on the pitch against the bottom of the table team, then maybe something is just not right, not working properly. So I'll leave it to you guys to make your opinion.
Yeah, that's well said, Ant.
Well, listen, Venezia stink. I even wore the shirt yesterday. That team stinks. They are a good average Serie B team. That's what they are. But fully agree with Omer. Vlahovic missing yesterday. Morata, non-existent. And I agree. I got the Vlahovic shirt on now. This is a beauty, by the way. But I don't agree with the people saying, do you think we paid too much for Vlahovic? I think that's a whole separate conversation.
We're going to get into Vlahovic.
I think that's just crazy. But in terms of yesterday, I think Moretti has deserved his shot to play against Genoa. And I'd say even throw him out there in the Coppa Italia final. Let's see how it does against Genoa. Ake, for me, he had one sort of good outing and one terrible one. But that's just, he's young. Sule, we haven't seen much. I think Moretti proved that he's earned more time. So, and I think Allegri is going to give that to him.
Yeah.
He has to. He's earned it over Arthur.
Yesterday was 100%. A prime example after the match of how snippets of what Max says gets taken, and then they cleverly cut out everything, and then it's just the one line that has people flipping their wigs, basically. And in regards to the youngsters, he praised Moretti for his performance and praised the youth sector for the work that they're doing. And then he continued that he doesn't know if we will see any youngsters by the end of the season. Playing for Juve isn't easy. The boys are phenomenal one day, and then it seems they do not know how to play. They have to find their balance. Playing at Juve isn't easy. Some are ready, some are not. So when you take it with this and what he actually says in the entire context, he isn't wrong. We saw it through Ake. Granted that it was at a completely different position from one start to the next, but it was a completely different performance, and one that left you, pretty pumped on the 10-minute cameo or whatever as a winger. Other as a wingback was he just looked like he would never pass that halfway line and was too fearful and to take the opportunities and whatnot. I don't know if it was planned that way or whatnot, but you can't agree with that. Now, this, as far as the rest of the season goes, though, if you've got top four sealed, there is no big difference between third and fourth. There's like nothing financially. You have nothing to gain. I don't see the harm in giving some guys some tests. And
Although I would love
that
jumping over Napoli.
Go ahead, Omer.
Although I would love jumping over Napoli in the table after they were minus 18 points.
Sure.
Which says a lot. But financially, you're correct. There's not much difference.
So, I mean, if you had more guys that you could put to the test, like Sule remains one that we need to see more of these tests for. Moretti's earned it, whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's not the be-all, end-all. My frustration, and going back to this youth thing and Max Allegri, sure, you can take examples from back in the past of players that he's played and that they've kind of bounced out. You've got Benta, Pogba, Dybala when he first came. Dybala was also a 40 million euro signing. You're not going to just not use this guy. However, if we give you guys that, my frustrations, and I think many of the Juventini out there, and again, there's extremes to every argument. They're extreme in saying that they have no faith in Max. That's my personal opinion. To say that you have no faith in him with the youth project that's coming up to maximize it, I think that's extreme. My frustration was there were opportunities like this one that Moretti got throughout the season. I think Max was way too dialed in on the whole fourth place thing and the fear thing that, like Omar pointed to, you had problems lineup wise with your key guys and your starters. And maybe that would have been a shakeup that these other guys needed. It's say, hey, we are kind of trying to do this, but this kid, here comes this kid from the U23, and he's impacting this lineup. There's a problem there. And maybe that could have stepped some guys up, because it isn't just Max, and it has been performances from the key guys that haven't done enough and haven't given you enough. And it's just one of those things of finding answers. Again, I think there was opportunities earlier in the year. We could have given some of the young guys more opportunities. However, it's not the be-all, end-all. Okay? It isn't the be-all, end-all. Ultimately, I think we got to trust the process and trust the fact that, as Max, as Agnelli have said, this is the foundation for what's to come. What's to come? Let's wait and see before we shoot it down before it even happens. Agree on that?
Yeah. It's, and I've, people have been hitting me with I don't want to see the youngsters play. I'm just looking at it from, like, I don't want to say a realistic point of view, but from the point of view of trying to put myself in Max's shoes. Like, his job is to get to fourth place and to progress as far as he can in Champions League. So he's trying to balance all these things. He's trying to balance a lineup through injuries. He's trying to balance playing time. Some guys may be carrying injuries that we don't know, but he needs them to play. Like, there's a multitude of things that Max is trying to handle that we don't see. So the simple thing is for us to sit here and say, play the young guys. But he has one, trying to maintain his job, and two, trying to achieve the goals of the club. And if his thought process is, I'm going to go with the older guys who I can trust to execute whatever game plan I need executed for this game, those are the players I'm going to play. Because like you just mentioned that quote, he said, sometimes the young guys, they shut in, they shut out. They don't get it. It's a big step from the youth.
Yeah.
From youth ranks to Serie A. It's a lot faster. It's a lot more technical. So, I get we should have been playing more kids. And a lot of people are going to blow up and say, oh, look how good Moretti played. Pump the brakes. It was against the City of Seaside. So let's just take it easy. But I think he deserves more time based on how he played.
Yeah.
Look, so Swery just mentioned a couple of comments ago that this is the Genoa game is the first time this season where there's no pressure on Juve. None at all. They can play everyone they want, which I agree. But you can't bank on that for every season to start playing these guys only when there's no pressure. They need to be ready in case you need them. And the guys who are in the in the main roster, they should know that someone is knocking on the door behind them. And if they're not going to perform, an 18-year-old will get his chance to show what he is worth. Which I didn't feel was the case for all of the season. And come February, Max really started to let these guys know that their place in the starting 11 is not secured in any way, which I believe is a good reason. It's why you try your best to maintain your spot. It's nothing weird, and the players need to know that. If De Winter knows he's going to be in the roster for every game but not play, then you might as well stay with the U23 and keep his game momentum going. But if there is a chance to use these guys, it can't be only at the end of the season where there's no pressure.
Yeah. And that's my only frustration, I guess, in the whole thing is I think there was opportunities that could have been taken because we have some guys standing out at that other level. And this is what's all about, is testing them and trying to see that. And not only, like I said, there are effects that it could have on your starting guys, because if they're not cutting it and you're looking to these guys and get them in there, that should serve as a wake-up call. Like, I know it would for me. If I were one of those starters and all of a sudden they're looking to like a 19-year-old and I'm like, oh God, I got to pick things up here.
Yeah, no one ever replaced me. That's the problem. I never had that issue.
There you go. Continuing on with Max's words, other ones that got people fired up. So in this particular match, Max was talking about it and just said we had to slow down. Obviously, that's going to fire everybody up. After the goal, we kept going at the same speed. In games, there are different speed levels and there are different moments. We have to grow in this area. The positive side is that we were looking for 2-0 and we didn't find it. So he's not wrong in saying that obviously the matches change and they go through different moments and everything like that. But I don't agree with they had to slow down. Venezia was very toothless, even when they were trying to turn things up. It feels like maybe this team, the players themselves, start to get into this shutdown mode if they feel like they're opening up too much. And then it starts to get in there with opportunities. I don't necessarily know, but these words, honestly, at the end of the day, don't really bother me none. I think this team, regardless of what he says, I will feel the same way. They have to learn to go through the gears. Yesterday was a match we played in second gear, if we even hit second, and stayed in that gear for its entirety. That's my thoughts on it. So regardless of what he says, this team needs to go through the gears. Omer, and then Ant.
Yeah, look, I look around the league and Europe as a whole. All of the teams and the big teams' wheels are falling off. Same case with Juve, especially with all the injuries we had. Some of these guys they can't put in a 90-minute shift every game. And if you expect Juve to start playing, Rabiot can. Congrats to him. Great. I'm sorry to say, but this season it's great that we have him. If we didn't have him, I don't know what would have happened. It was the only player available all season long. along with the goalkeepers. So, it's fine to have that. If you expect Juve to start playing beautiful football in May when it doesn't matter anymore, then you're going to be disappointed. What you saw yesterday was Juve of this season, and it was nothing special. Everyone knew that after the goal, we'll take our foot off the gas, and maybe half of the people could have guessed that we're going to concede one and then score another one. That's basically how Juve works this season. It's not going to change in May, not even in April. So it is what it is. Just run out the clock on the rest of the games, get your wins, don't get into any heavy losses. Win the Copa is the only important thing right now, and exploit this time to maybe try a few of the youngsters you didn't give a chance to all season long. You had your excuses, fine, I get it. No excuses now. They need to play and let the other guys rest. No need to play Quadrado, for example, against Genoa, because he was slated to maybe Inter, maybe Genoa. Let the Winter play. Let Sula play. Give these guys another rest. They put in one hell of a shift this season with all of the injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ant, anything to add to Omer?
No, he said it perfectly. I just I'm getting dumped on here by the comments. I might have to come back and comment on some of those. Don't worry, Luke, I saved those. Actually, I'm gonna get back to one of Lucas here, and which one is it? Arthur is going to be out this summer. He's one of the targets to leave. So why wouldn't we play Moretti over him? We know what we have in Arthur. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying maybe deserve was the wrong word, but I think Moretti, to see what we have, because Fagioli's not going to be in the first team next year. He's probably going to, if the club he's on now in Serie B, if they get promoted to Serie A, he's probably going to stay there. Listen, Rovella's had a lot of injuries this year.
Yeah.
Don't kid yourselves. I can tell you that the club is probably concerned about that a little bit. So with these next couple of games, deserve, sorry, Lucas, probably the wrong word. I know it's nice and sunny where you are and you're having a great morning, blah, 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 blah. But I think you have to see what you have in Moretti. He's the one who's kind of shone a little bit, well, a lot. So let's see what we have. Definitely against Genoa. I'd say even throw him out there against Inter. Let's do it. Why not? Or even especially definitely Lazio.
So, and this is the thing I've been saying for a while, and my thing with getting them the opportunities, and when they have get those tests, you have Arthur and Moretti. If we're even discussing that, this highlights the financial benefits of being able to integrate from that youth sector. Absolutely massive when you look at what financially Arthur stands you, and if Moretti can bring you basically the same for a hell of a lot less, this frees up so much for this club. And then when you need to make the splashes, you can make the splashes. Like, we're not out of line, and we're highlighting an area. If you can turn to a 19-year-old to give you essentially the same level that you've been getting out of somebody making, between 5 and 7 mil a season, that stands your club close to 50 right now in terms of value. Number one, it highlights issues like Omer pointed out. Number two, man, you can really make some positive gains in this whole project that Juve's looking at. And that's the big picture about if you can get this and do it right. And it's just, for me, we have to take these tests. And now when you have team matches that mean nothing, in terms of the standings and whatnot, get those tests in there and let's find out a little bit more, right? But again, it's for the standouts. The standouts are the ones that need to be doing that, and you need to evaluate. It's gonna be interesting stuff. Max's words. We got a couple last ones to wrap up of before we get into some of the outlying topics. One of them directly leads into another topic that's been going around, and I see some comments we'll probably pull out, and that was on Vlahovic when Ant kind of started it. We're gonna finish it basically. First, Max says beating Villarreal, we might have burned energy for fourth place. Let's look at the positive things.
100% right.
That's
100% right.
I can't take that as a positive.
It's not a positive, but it's true.
It's true. It's reality.
It is.
It sucks that okay, sorry, Omer, you start.
I agree with you. I agree with you. It's just the reality of things. If
Just
we
what it
couldn't
is.
beat, could barely beat Villarreal with the roster that we had, and you want to go to the quarterfinals to face Bayern and then possibly face Liverpool.
We would have got roasted. We would have got roasted, I think, in the next stage of that comp, especially
Yeah.
watching those games.
And imagine what could have happened. More injuries. Players after putting in some more games. Tough battle for fourth place. And you see
Travel.
how everything works in Italy. You had 2 games decided by referees only this weekend that affects all the races going on for Europa League and for the Scudetto and everything. You can't be sure about anything anymore. I can be sure that progressing further in the Champions League would have hurt us deeply.
Yeah.
Now, hindsight showing that Roma, absolutely, the wheels are just falling off that bus in Atalanta and Lazio. Now, looking at it from now, saying, "Oh, we still would have been okay because the other teams are, dumping the bed." Yeah, but you didn't know that at the time. So, and again, Luca's losing his stuff. I thought it was a sunny day over there, Luca. I agree with the sentiment that a coach shouldn't say that, but it's reality. Like he's just saying we would have been like overexerting our resources if we progressed in Champions League, and it's true, and it most likely would have affected the approach or the path of achieving fourth place. Now we should be achieving the goal should be first. I get it, but this season, the reality, like Omer said, the reality is that was not the reality. The reality is we were a fourth place team and we were struggling to get there, and Champions League would have overall hurt our progression to that.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Whether it's a reality or not, I just don't like it. And
that's fair.
And is it in
That's
fact
fine.
a total reality? 2 matches, or was going to change the scope of securing fourth?
It can be.
It could.
It can. You don't know what would have happened
Sure,
if we would have
could
lost
be.
one of those games.
But I
Maybe
mean,
part of the reason Roma's wheels fell off is because they knew they had no chance, and you were focusing mainly on the league now. But if we would have lost one game because we had to play Bayern twice, then Roma would have given an extra effort to make it to fourth place because it would have seemed possible at the time. I believe. I don't know. These are all assumptions. I don't think Juve could have managed 2 more games in midweek. We barely put out a performance in either of those games without the midweek game against a top-tier European side. So I'm not sure we would have survived any of that. We could have lost 2 or 3 games just because of those 2 legs against Bayern.
This is a great point from Eric too. At that point,
I don't think we were that close.
Very close to making things interesting.
I think we could have made things interesting. I don't think we were that close. If someone can find that'd be.
Whether it's a reality is still speculation. Like I mean,
right.
But to say this, it's almost like we're
giving
just
up.
saying we're happy to be here, which is
right.
wrong.
Right.
That
it's a loser
wrong.
mentality. I get that. But
it's basically what you're saying is we're happy to be in this comp, and that's the part that bothers me from it. Sure. And again, he's not wrong in saying that. I guess you could speculate that, hey, we had so many injuries, we're not playing well, regardless of its players, Max, whatnot. But I don't like that it gives up the vibes that Juve's happy to be there. I will never like that.
I would say I'm half happy because, take it 3 or 4 months backwards, even a fourth place wasn't a sure thing. And when we drew Villarreal, there was still a lot of players available. Chiesa hadn't had his injury yet. Things looked different, Champions League-wise and league-wise. But now that we reduced this 18 points gap between us and Napoli, I'm pretty happy. I didn't see it happening back in December. So I'm like half and half. I'm disappointed that we have to challenge for fourth spot, but in hindsight, it wasn't secure for a larger part of the season.
I guess the thing is too, like I'm used to a Juve that they'll always be in the European front. Even if we are going heavily underdogs like we used to in some of the big matchups, and this isn't just throughout this decade of dominance that we would see some matchups, some opponents, and we'd be like, oh, this is going to be really, really interesting. This dates back to even the 90s and stuff like that. But Juve always pride themselves on being that opponent that even if it was, we were heavily underdogs in there, you knew you were in for a dogfight and everything like that. And I don't like it because it kind of goes against an identity I truly believe this team needs to get back to at all costs.
Right.
So I don't like when we fight against an identity that, number one, we've lost, and I believe we'd like to try and recreate and emulate. That's what I have the problems with. I don't think Juventus, I remain firm in what I was saying before in terms of being happy, being satisfied with fourth place. At Juventus, you're always used to being another one of the losers if you don't take home that trophy, whether you're second, you're third, you're fourth. And I like that from the team. I like that ambition. I like that drive. When you say things like this, it feels like we're just happy to be there. I don't like it. I don't like it.
But
Now,
the reality is that we stink. We're not good enough to win Champions League, and we're not good enough to win the Scudetto. That's the reality. Now, I think the team is driving towards everything you're saying. We have to, there might have to be a turnover in players. There was a turnover in management. We're getting there. We're not
just
there.
Don't say that though.
Fair enough. Okay. But
you're fighting this. You're trying to build up your identity amongst your players, amongst your team. It's strange. And remember, this is not just to Max too. Okay, let's take Max out of the equation. Let's look at Sarri. Let's look at Pirlo. There were times where these guys said something, and then the guys who we're looking at to form the new spine, De Ligt came out, would have completely different words to say, completely contradicting everything his manager just came out and said. I stand on De Ligt's side because he has those ambitions through his words. That's kind of what you want. That's kind of what you want out of your manager. You want to see that synchronicity. So I don't have a problem with any of the other stuff Max said. I just don't like creating this happy to be there thing. That's all.
So you and Luca here, you guys think it's blood sport. Don't you remember Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme? Don't show weakness. Don't show weakness to your opponent. We'll be fine. Let's just get through this season. Like I will be with or not on your train, on or off your train, whatever. Next season, I want to see what Max does with the summer and then a full complement of players next year and see if that grinta comes back.
And that doesn't change. That's never changed based on his words. Nobody's ever said he needs to be fired because of what he's saying.
Well, some people do.
But to be unhappy with these ones, I could see this particular set of words.
Yep.
That said, everybody's on the same page. Max is going to have to be there next season. You have to create some sort of stability. And what I've been saying the most is let's start to compare Max to Max. Let's get away from this Pirlo thing, and let's see what he can do in another season. And hopefully, and I fully anticipate, and I've been saying this a lot, I fully anticipate this team being in the top two next season and competing. And I wouldn't be shocked us taking the Scudetto. In terms of Europe, I think we have a longer road ahead of us to get back to where we're. Omer?
Yeah, some of these guys, it's contradictory because we all want the young guys to play, but you have to learn how to challenge on three fronts and how to take care of your body. Now, De Ligt has done it with Ajax, but Vlahovic, those losses.
Hey, the birds, the dogs.
It's the dogs.
Is it the birds again? Are they barking at the birds?
No, I don't know what they're barking on. Dogs are weird. But they need to learn that. Vlahovic is a player who never competed for 3 titles in one season in Italy. Now he knows what it takes. Next season, he will be better. I'm sure he will be better. And players like Quadrado believe because they know what it takes. So it doesn't happen instantly just by Max saying it. And it doesn't, take away from the players when Max is saying it. It goes both ways. These are just words. Eventually, experience is a huge factor in these scenarios for big teams. So the gathering experience this season is a bad experience, but an experience nonetheless, and they will grow from it. I hope they will grow from it, and I hope Max grows from it and learns how to use his words better and utilize his team better.
And the one thing he does better than Sarri is he doesn't throw his players under the bus. You may not like what he says, and it may seem like, what the hell is he talking about? But he always speaks positively about his players. Even like, we've seen some games where Rabiot or somebody's having a bad game. You're like, what the hell? What game was Max talking about? He talks positively about his players. Now, Pirlo just didn't say much. He was kind of, was his demeanor. But I think that you can see that Max is trying to change the culture slowly. It's going to take time. Like, people need to have a little bit more patience with Max.
I think Pirlo, I wouldn't say he didn't say much, but he shed a lot more. There was a lot of transparency. Like, he was pretty open, almost shockingly open with individuals and what was going on behind the scenes. I mean, Morata, he was very, very open about that and everything. And that had fans, kind of discussing Morata and how, like, possibly a weak mentality and super emotional and all this.
That's
like,
right.
Whereas Max has said nothing but positive about Morata. So it's like, it's interesting the change, right? And that's probably an experience thing, because you got to be very careful about what you say to the media and whatnot. So as far as the players go, I don't think I've ever had issues with what Max has said, other than when he called Dybala tuttocampista. That's probably the only time I was like, what, man? Come on. But in terms of overall what he says, I can't help but feel confusion in where we're at and what identity we're trying to set for the team. That's all. Now, in moving on with the last tidbit of Max's words that Ant kind of was starting to allude to, was a conversation about Vlahovic. Vlahovic has become a recent topic in terms of, do we need more? Yesterday was obviously a bad showing, not only from him, but Morata as well.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very poor. We couldn't get them integrated as much as we needed to. You started to see moments in the second half. I kind of pointed it out during the live reactions watch along, where he started to drop back deeper just to get the ball at his feet and start to help in the buildup and then try to find lanes and avenues. And I thought it was a good idea, because this back to goal thing, it's not ideal. You don't want him playing like that the entire time. And you could tell the frustration on him. Max simply said, Dusan needs to remain calm. And he says playing for Juve is much different than playing for Fiorentina. There's two things about that. It's, number one, how the teams play against you as opposed to how they play against Fiorentina. Obviously, he will get more space against Fiorentina because teams will play more openly against a Fiorentina than they will against Juventus. Not only that, but the pressure and everything that he puts amongst himself is also tripled based on the pressure that comes naturally with playing for Juventus. Him grabbing the number 7 is applying more pressure to himself.
The price tag.
It was a ballsy move. We all said that. It's a ballsy move. In my personal opinion, in matches, I'm not saying it's him, but we do need more out of Vlahovic. And I'm not putting it on him.
Mm-hmm.
But as a team, we have to sort this out, because we do need to get more out of him. I think it's a complete exaggeration, though, some of the concerns and saying he's not worth the money and all this. And I think it's kind of not right to completely throw it on Max as well, because it just isn't. The fact of the matter is, it's a team game. They all have to sort this thing out. If you're getting marked out of a match, it's up to you to try and figure out how you're going to get yourself involved sometimes too. It can't always come from the sideline. Have you ever seen a player, have you ever played in a match personally where you're getting tight marked? Do you run to the sideline and say, hey man, I can't shake this guy off my back? No, you've got to be the man. You've got to figure it out for yourself, and you got to sort that out. So everybody's a part of this. Statistically, I've seen the stats. Everybody's throwing out 17 goals in the first half for Fiorentina, 6 for Juventus since. There's a 12-game difference there, okay? There's 22 games in the first half of the season. We're comparing to 10 in the second half. Not only that, he's taken PKs for Fiorentina as well, and he was taking pretty much all their free kicks. So and 5 of those were PKs. So it's by average, he's actually kind of on point for what he was doing in terms of the goals thing. So
He's a little better. Yeah.
it's not the be all end all. I agree with Max. We have to remain calm on this one. Otherwise, I believe it was Louis earlier who pointed out a good fact. Are we going to run ourselves into the same things like we just did with, potentially Kulusevski and all this? But Kulusevski, different story. He did nothing for Juve. Dusan has been fine. We have to figure out how to get him integrated more. The team as a whole has to figure this thing out. Cause for concern, cause to second guess the purchase, my opinion, absolutely not. You guys go on Vlahovic.
Omer?
I don't blame him. I don't blame him for anything. Just you need to watch the game. He needs to learn, okay, but it's not a blame. It's just something that comes with time. But you can't watch the game and tell me, oh, there were tons of good balls inside the area and it just missed and his positioning was bad. No, Juve play badly in attack at the moment. They barely create chances. When they do, it's sort of half chances or corner kicks or free kicks. You wouldn't convince me that Benzema or Lewandowski would have done better yesterday in the same game with the same amount of service that Vlahovic got. So he's not at that level yet, but Juve are not creating good chances during matches. It just is, and you can't throw it on the striker and say, oh yeah, this is his fault. Does he score less when Juve's best attacking players are out? Chiesa, Dybala, McKennie, Cuadrado, the guys who are there and creating chances? Of course he does. Play Benzema and Villarreal with a bunch of non-starters and he will do probably worse. It's just the reality of it. Of course, Juve does worse when all of its attacking threat is missing.
Yeah.
100% agree. So I'm just looking at his stats here. He had 28 touches. A lot of his play was inside the 18 where, he's going to be double teamed in there. So there's not much he can do. He is, and I've been saying this for a while, he is not a back to goal striker. He is a striker who wants to run at the net. He wants to run at defenders. And Juventus isn't putting him in a position to be able to play that way. So, again, there's a lot of people commenting here that once Chiesa comes, I 100% agree with that. I think Chiesa is going to open some lanes up for the big Dusan. But, yeah, 100% agree. Let's just give it time. 22 years old. Like, I've lived a whole Dusan more than Dusan has. He's got a whole let's just pump the brakes on the kid.
So,
and that $80 or $70 million price tag, like that weighs on him too, right? He has this expectation that I need to perform, so he's gonna put more stress on himself. Like, man, let's just give him a minute. 10 games, was it 10 games he's played with us? I think those are all Serie A. I think you're talking just Serie A games or those all games. Anyways, either way, 10 games. Like, what are you talking about here? He's gonna be awesome next year. Let's just
I want to add that he's our main goal threat at the moment, and there's nothing else beside it. If you throw in Chiesa in there and you throw in Dybala in there, those are players that demand attention of more than one player. But when Bernardeschi is just dribbling from left to right to the center, and then they can stay in formation. They don't need to give him extra attention, two men to mark him. It leaves the job for the defenders a lot easier to just mark Vlahovic. Throwing Chiesa in there, then it's suddenly not that easy. You have to pay attention to him as well. So I can't blame Dusan for being the best attacking player at the moment at Juve, and everyone around him is just not up to the same level.
Yeah. I think even in terms of assessing Dusan, the reason I'm not on this whole, there's a big issue. We need to still sort out the roster, the lineup. Like, you're playing game in, game out with guys that aren't even true wingers. And sometimes your wingers actually are right back. It's like, what are you actually doing? So it's like nobody's taken advantage of the fact that Dusan's got 3 guys on him. It's like, who's attacking the space that creates? Who's driving there? It's like, I still see, no matter what, and this is why I give Max, when I just won't tolerate Allegri out talks at this point and say stick with the coach, because you can't deny the shortcomings in this roster and the personnel that we put out there on a match-to-match basis. Like, you're always missing something.
Like
And
Danilo in midfield.
yeah, like, it's just like there's no drive or attack that's solid enough, that's, that requires as much attention as it should out of the midfield. Okay, Zakaria, we know he's more well-rounded. Actually had a brutal game yesterday.
I thought he
I
was.
think it was pretty bad, other than his defensive work rate. Rabiot did the same thing. He played well, but in a defensive phase. You didn't get much out of the attack, except for when Miretti kind of rotated himself in and joined the attack.
Mhm.
You need that consistently. You need somebody
Hey, Omer.
consistently that could be the general there, that can drive that ball forward out of the midfield. Wingers. We need wingers.
Yep.
If you have no threat of 1v1s or pulling extra defenders out there, those guys can just calmly stay on Dusan Vlahovic, and that's exactly what we're seeing. There's just not enough threat outside of him, and as a unit together, the team play has lacked tremendously, and they haven't been able to maximize having Vlahovic around. Is it going to instantly be better second season? It's going to take time, because a lot of these guys seem to be on their way out. And we just got to wait and see what's going to develop there. In terms of a guy that's moved his way out, Dybala is going to be leaving, obviously. A lot of talks about him being checked out. Do you guys get that vibe? Did you get that vibe yesterday?
Yeah.
Would you blame him if he is?
Yes.
Is he, though? Is he
Yes.
checked out?
Yes, he still gets a paycheck. Of course, I expect him to not check
No,
out.
is he playing like he's checked out to you, Omer?
I was on the fence in the last few games, but I'm leaning towards yes. I don't know. There's just something about the attitude, the lack of conviction, the reaction when he loses the ball. It's just something that wasn't part of his game, and now it is. Just giving up pretty easily, which is infuriating. And I get his point of things and his side with all the contract talks that took too long, and since Ronaldo came, the way they looked at him. But you can't honestly look at that and tell me you were pleased with what you're seeing from him, considering he's like the top earner in the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that his play isn't maybe what we're used to, but yeah, Luca brings up there. He's not now. You got him as a substitute. He's only got a couple games left. He's trying to figure out where he's got to go. He's got to, he's expected to produce while he's on the field now. Like, you got to remember, these people are still human beings, right? So I wouldn't blame him for being checked out. Whether he is or he isn't, I don't know, because I'm not in his head. But if
I don't start him in the Coppa Italia final.
What? Yeah, 100% he starts for me. You have to win that trophy. You have to win it, Al.
I know, and that's my concern, is that that's not going to help us.
He's still our best player. For me,
he hasn't been. He has not been.
But he can be.
That's great. I want to see it, though, and I haven't over the past how many matches and entrances. There is a problem there. If we're even talking about him checked out, I don't start him.
Wild. Okay.
It is wild, but I wouldn't start him. The Paulo I've seen yesterday, the match before, I'm not into it, man. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. I don't know.
Everything.
You starting him?
I don't know. Let's wait till the Genoa match, because I don't want to be the executioner that says no Dybala right now. But he leaves a lot to be desired. He lost some of the stuff that made him Paulo. Conviction and playing for your team is a high value for Juve fans and for Juve players. And when you suddenly see a player that doesn't act that way, it annoys me. Of course, it annoys me. I want to see more from him. All right, let's all agree that he was never a super sub. he was always a player who did his best performances when starting. It wasn't like a Douglas Costa who came in at the 60th minute and
Yeah, he
bagged
needs to get
3
into a game.
assists.
He needs to play more minutes.
Yeah,
The only thing, and also, what's this saving against Sassuolo? He scored a goal. It's his job. What is this saving us? Come on. We needed the second one too. Come on. Enough of this.
Listen,
I quit a lot of jobs, and I never allow myself to act that way.
Only thing saving Paulo Dybala is the level of the replacements and the roster. That's the only thing. If we were even more comfortable, I'm telling you, and even in the state we're in, I'm second guessing starting Paulo Dybala against Inter. And even more so if that's the team he ends up choosing, wants to go to. Like, I don't know. If we're talking about a guy being checked out, I want this trophy badly this season. And if he's going to put out stinkers and look uninterested, then I'd rather not. I'd rather not if he's going to be uninterested and checked out. Do I blame him all this? None of that matters. Is he going to be the Paulo that is, in fact, our best player? Because as of late, I can honestly say I haven't seen it.
Paulo at 80% is better than anybody replacing him.
That's potentially true. So,
right? Like, who are we kidding? Is he 100% fit, fully ready to go? Bernardeschi is nowhere near as good as Dybala. Dybala has to start in that Coppa Italia final. What are we talking about?
I don't think he has to.
The thing is, it's a bet. Which Dybala are you going to get?
Exactly, and that's the problem.
And I'm saying it doesn't matter.
It does matter. It almost cost us a few games. He lost a lot of balls. He didn't track back, and it just seemed disinterested. We don't need players who don't want to play or don't want to give it their 200% every match in a final. So if there's someone else who's willing to, Cuadrado gives his 100% better or for worse.
True. Yeah.
If we go 4-3-3 and Cuadrado's the replacement, I'm telling you, I'd probably take that, to be honest with you. I'd probably go Quad Morata Vlahovic up top if that's the route we want to go. And if you wanted to go 4-2-3-1, that's where it gets tricky, because then you're trying to make a call of Berna over Dybala, which is just not going to.
No, if this is the option, then 100% Dybala.
But I don't think this clear. I don't think that's the case right now.
Fair
Guys, enough of that, though. That was good, though. Got the blood pumping. Most improved player. Lewis is going to love
Not even close
discussion. Who is the most improved player this season?
It's not even close. Well, hang on. Did you want me to start, or Omer, do you want to start?
I don't care who starts it. Let's go.
For me, it was McKennie. It was McKennie by a country mile. And then he got hurt. And now it's Rabiot, and I don't even think it's close. Now, Rabiot has not been injured. He's been consistently consistent, especially in 2022, this half of the season. He hasn't been great. He's not a superstar, but he hasn't been terrible, as some people in our group like to say he is. I think he's been the most improved, and it's not even close.
Omer, most improved.
And there's one more player.
You can make a shout out for tons of players. You can say Rugani. You can say the Sheen.
That's the other one.
You can even say Pellegrini. But I think I'd go with Ant here. I think McKennie has become a player we're sorely missing, which wasn't the case last season. He started with a bang, then dipped off. This season he was talked about leaving in January because he has the most value, but then he bought his place back through his plays. And we always complain that our midfield doesn't contribute much to the attack. So our highest scoring midfielder can't be a problem, and definitely something we're missing right now. And like I mentioned earlier, all of the goals came from defenders. So I'd give it to McKennie. I think his presence was most lacking, because you can say Chiesa, but honestly, it wasn't that good this season anyway. So McKennie for me, I agree. And
So
look, you can make the shout out for Rabiot. Of course you can, because he was there. But as far as my personal preference, McKennie.
I don't know. So when I look at all these guys, like Weston improved. Is it the most improved? Like, I don't know. I don't know if he's the most improved player. In terms of Rabiot, it's funny because like he's been on a good stretch. But I said yesterday to Anth on the watch along, the funniest thing about Rabiot is he could be putting in a good shift, a strong shift. And it's always one blackout that takes place and usually costs us. And that's what kills him. It's what kills Rabiot.
But the last
other
time he
thing
did
with
that
Rabiot
was
is
Villarreal.
he's
That was the
playing,
last one he did,
if he's playing
I think.
and Zakaria is playing there, you have two guys doing extensive amount of defensive work, and like that's it. If Rabiot was the only guy that had to do it in a 3-man mid, then it's okay and you can get away with it. His numbers yesterday, I mean, were pretty strong. I mean, he had what, 8 or 9 out of 10 or 11 duels won. He had 3 interceptions, 2 of them critical ones. You know, like he's doing his work. Aerial duels, he won 75% of them. Like he's doing his job on the defensive end, and that's all. If you expect more, you're not going to get it. But in terms of him, is he most improved? I don't necessarily know. I could say he's even most improved. He's up there, but I think hands down, Rugani is the most improved in my particular opinion, because we went from a guy who we couldn't trust against any side, and he played every single time he was called upon this season, and he was not a problem. People want to highlight that one PK that went against him. It wasn't even really a scenario where you can really put him at fault, and I can't say that one of his replacements wouldn't have been in that same position based on the run of play, which was that PK. Rugani, for me, would have to be the most improved on this team.
Look, the question is not that fair to the entire roster, because in order to improve, you have to be bad at first. So Rugani and Deshido are immediately in this conversation. I have higher expectations from Dybala. That's why if he does better than everyone else, I wouldn't say he has improved. Okay, so this question refers to mainly the guys that were either bad or young and we haven't seen before. I can throw
it relates to all of them, because it's like from one season to the next, who made the biggest jump?
So I can throw
that's most improved player. If
Szczesny,
Dybala wanted to
had a bad game,
be the most improved player, yeah, he would have to be lights out. He would also have to stay fit. It would be a combination of different things. He could qualify for most improved. We don't have to necessarily say this is just for the guys who have been pretty bad overall. It could be for all of them, but it's just the jump.
Can be, but your eyes. But all of us threw players out that were bad. Like none of us threw. Once again, I can say Szczesny because he wasn't all that good last season, and he started this season horribly, and then kept his momentum going again.
Szczesny's always been steady Eddie, so I don't really see.
Szczesny had a sort of bad half season.
In terms of Weston too, Weston I don't even see as improved from last year. I see him just as good as he showed last season. It's just consistency was a thing. Just like this year, he started off poor, but then got hot. Last season, he was good at the start and then had a hip problem and kind of faded. I don't think he actually improved. I think he's been the same mechanic.
You could also throw Bernadeschi in there because he wasn't much last year, and then he started the year off with a bang. Like he was our best player in September, October, and then he got that one injury, October or
phantom injury that nobody really knew what the hell was even going on.
But that was recently. That was like
right, and then
March.
And then he was. I think he was on track to be our best player the first half of the year, and then he got that phantom injury over Christmas or for like earlier in this calendar year, and then he just fell off. But he started off with the bang for sure.
I was saying Weston sucked last year. Not the first half.
I'm not sure where.
First half of the season last year? Are you serious?
Good sleep. Alex doesn't get good sleep. Yeah, I'm not sure where he sleeps.
Weston was our rotational player last season. but now he has to be in the starting 11.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
medication.
improvement.
Gotta get sleep. Sleep's important.
I'm not sure.
That's improvement.
I don't know
Last
what
season
Ant's
he had
mumbling
plenty for
about.
him.
I'm not
What?
sure.
No, nothing. I'm good.
So it's good. It's good. Anyways, let's go. Let's go. We're wrapping up. We've got Genoa next. Okay. So
They stink.
rest everybody. Get some guys some minutes for some sharpness. I'm gonna say this right now. You play some youngsters. But at the same time, I want to see some guys rotate in probably towards the end of the game just to get a little bit of match sharpness.
Does Vlahovic start?
Ahead of Inter. I don't think he needs to start it, but I wouldn't mind seeing him maybe finish up, hopefully bag a goal just to get that going for him. I hate seeing him like be frustrated going into that match against Inter when he's going to face a sterner test. But how do you guys feel? Do you just rest everybody? Do you want to see some guys keep up match sharpness? What do you think?
Do we care if we win?
No, but I
That's
care
the
about
question.
match sharpness going in against Inter. I wouldn't want to rest everybody and just go into that game off training sessions for the start.
I would just use a lot of the rotational players, maybe not all of the youngsters, but I do want to see Rugani in there. I would even give a shout out to Pinsolio to be in goal. Let Sandro play. I don't want him against Inter. Let De Sciglio play. Miretti, obviously, get one of Sule or Ake to play. The rest should be starters.
So Omer wants a complete overhaul.
Not complete overhaul. Rugani still has to partner either the Lake, Bonucci, or Chiellini. But let these guys play, and it doesn't matter anymore. Just let them run out.
This is a good point.
What?
This is a good point.
That's what I just said. It
seems like he needs to get his confidence.
I'd like to see him bag a goal. I'd hate to see him go into that match against Inter frustrated with the test he's going to face. But again, like I said, you do want to rest these guys.
Rest Rabiot, rest Danilo, rest the guys who are important to the starting 11 and need to play midweek. Rabiot is important against Inter. I'm sorry, you don't have anyone else.
Sweet Lucifer to come out there on I'm gonna write that call everybody. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But yes, obviously the Coppa Italia, we got to get this trophy. Got to get this trophy. Have to beat one of these teams ahead of us this season.
This is sorry, Al. This is what I was saying before. This is where people are like, "Oh, why doesn't Max do what I say?" Because I'm on my couch on Twitter and I can tell Max what to do. This is a perfect example. Max now has to balance players to play on Friday and players to play next Wednesday. Just like what we're talking about here. Who do you start? Who do you sit? It's all great points. You want Vlahovic to play to get a goal, hopefully get a goal to build his confidence, but you don't want to burn him out for that game. The game's in Milan, right? It's at the San Siro, I believe.
Yeah.
So, it's not like we have to travel to Dubai or some shit. And that's the tough part of being a manager. Who do you put in there? Omer, I agree with everything you said, but is he going to do that much of a rotation of the lineup? So it's not easy.
I believe he would. I actually believe he would. He did that in the past. In all of the season, he let a lot of rotational guys play in the closing game of the season where there was nothing on the line anymore.
Yeah. So, last one, celebrating top four. I've seen this out there a lot, and just a lot of fans saying, "Well, we should be embarrassed and whatnot, and all this," and then others saying, "Why the hell can't we celebrate it? We celebrated last season." For me, this is really, really simple. Number one, I said earlier in this podcast, you have a team that ultimately, if you're not first, you're still just one of the losers. Okay. So I don't think we need to get to a point to celebrate fourth. That does not mean we can't be happy about this. And there's a lot of different things at play. Yesterday, you said, I saw a lot of the messages saying, well, listen here, you were celebrating last season at the last match when we needed help from Verona and everything like this. Different scenarios. Okay. Last season with Pirlo taking over, a coach with no history, no experience, no nothing, literally didn't even have his ticket when he got the job. A lot of us thought that we could come out of this season with absolutely nothing. We thought we could come out of that season with absolutely nothing. The 10 straight was in jeopardy. You could see it coming. Like maybe some would go down. The problem is as it got closer, even if we said we were willing to take that hit in order to move forward, with the philosophy and everything, nobody was truly ready to take that hit. Okay. So we celebrated it because we still made it in. And ultimately, like, we need to be there as far as resources go. This season, the expectations are completely different. The expectations, the second Allegri comes in, come with the territory of his salary, his history, and his winning record. Like, that automatically changes those expectations. So for us to finish fourth and whatnot, that's just because overall, all of our feelings were expecting more from Max. No matter what roster he has, no matter what, you all have this faith in Max. And I had the same faith because I called it. I said, I believe Max takes us to the Scudetto. It is what it is, but it's different feelings. And every season is different in its entirety. Did we celebrate top four? Obviously, we wanted higher last season, but the reality was we could have seen losing everything with Pirlo. And it is what it is. What are your guys' thoughts on this topic as we kind of wrap things up? I don't know if we're going to have time for Storm the Barn today, unfortunately, but what do you guys think about this celebrating top four?
I'll go quick, Omer. We can't be happy about it. Like, we have to be angry because Pirlo did it, but now we don't like Allegri, so we have to be angry that it's not first. Yeah, it's something to celebrate. Like, that's okay. Are we going to be running around the field like, pumping our fists like they did last year? No, because we expected more this season. The season got derailed with a bunch of injuries. Got derailed when our leading goal scorer left after the first game. He pouted off to England. So, yeah, I'm happy about it. Great. But moving forward, it's not acceptable. Now, first, second, based on the roster, based on Max's expectations, starting June or whenever the summer mercado starts. No, I'll be happy about it now, but next year I won't be.
Yeah.
Omer.
I expect more next year.
Let's say that there's no clear-cut answer because there are good arguments to both sides. On one hand, Max, like Anthony said, used all the excuses a manager can get this season. So next season, he starts with an empty bucket of excuses, and if it doesn't work out, then he's to blame. Am I happy? Sort of. We won. We're Juve, and you can't take these things for granted. A decade ago, Arsenal were a team that's always in the Champions League. Now they'd be dying for a top four finish. So things change drastically, and you don't know how long it's going to last, and the slope is very slippery. So enjoy while you can, because it might not be the case. That's just how football works. Do I expect more from Juve? Of course I do. But saying that after a season like that, when we know everything that has happened since Ronaldo left to the point that Chiesa got injured and McKennie and Locatelli, would be just, expecting something that is not realistic. Finishing top four, finishing first, winning the Scudetto after everything that's happened is not realistic. That would have been a magical move by Allegri to pull a Scudetto in a season like that. So I'm kind of on the fence. I'm happy, but no more excuses. Next season, it's either Scudetto challenge or nothing.
And you still ripped off 15 unbeaten. Like,
I think here's what it comes down to. Everybody wants to say the deficit that was cut and all this and whatnot. Well, we put ourselves in that deficit. That plays into it. Okay. At the end of the day, no, I truly don't believe we need to celebrate fourth. Last year, yeah, we celebrated because we almost lost it, and we need it. We need it. We need the resources. So it's a different feeling. Ultimately, this team needs to achieve more and needs to be thinking forward. Happy? Of course. Because again, we need the resources, and I'm happy. And I think we should all be happy because of the fact that when others go through transitional years, they have completely gone irrelevant, and Juventus has remained in that mix, which is good. Scudetto, the fact that we were even fighting for it at one point, like even could have made a dent, and it came down to still not being able to beat one of those teams ahead of us. that hurts. But that's a
Mhm.
big pat on the back through this season and everything that went down, that we were in there and had teams above us thinking about us. So it is what it is. But ultimately, to celebrate, again, be happy, but I don't think it's celebration material. That's like last year. Happy because we got to get in there. We need those resources. But celebrating, I don't necessarily know celebrating. I think we were more celebrating 2 trophies out of a rookie manager that I think, honestly, we all could have seen getting absolutely nothing out of. Completely different feelings. Still happy, not necessarily celebrating, because it's not where Juve should be, and we have higher ambitions and higher expectations, and that's normal. And I agree with all of you. Next season. Alex P, it's good foundation. Next
100%.
season. Everybody, like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Okay, enter yourself. All subscribers automatically entered to win the Vlahovic jersey away kit. And check out stripedheartsapparel.com, our sponsor. Check out the jersey throwback crew necks. Lippy, ton of other great designs. Okay, you guys have been awesome today in the live chat. There was a lot going on there. There's so many great comments we couldn't even get to because you guys were just rifling off there. It was great. Omer, Anthony, always a pleasure. We got the victory. We've got Champions League secured. Let's see what will fall. We've got obviously Genoa and then the Coppa Italia. Okay, so let's see what happens. Let's see what happens as far as rotation and everything. But this season, Serie A, that's where we fall. We might be able to overtake Napoli, which I would laugh. And I know Anthony's got the receipts on that one. I know he's got the receipts on that one for Twitter. So, yeah, follow us at AllJuveCast. All of our team members, their tags and handles are in the description here. Let's get into it. Prediction, results. Anish was very, very concerned. Let's get to these. I'll just tell you real quick here who ended up taking it. It might have been you, Anish, but I apologize. I was supposed to get to this sooner. I did not. That's on me. But as far as the cards go, Anish believes that he got it correct. You did not, because you called 1 minute in. I remember you saying that you got it right. You did not. First card came at 25th minute and was actually Juve. Nobody had Juve getting the first card, but if it went by minute, it was myself at the 23rd minute. Tiebreak goes there. If you go in offsides for Juventus, they had zero offsides. Omer being the closest at 2. If you get into shots, attempts, Juventus had 17 with 4 on target. That puts Omer at the lead. Halftime score was 1-0 Juventus. Myself and Anish. Full time was obviously 2-1. The only one coming close there, Anish had 2-0. Probably the closest goal scorers. Vlahovic and a center back goal. We all had Vlahovic, Dybala. You know what, Anish?
Pretty close,
buddy.
You got it. It was close. Yeah,
you got it. It was a close one. You edged it out. Reach out on Twitter. We'll get you a sticker pack from stripedheartsapparel.com. Congrats, everybody. We'll talk to you at the Match Day Live. I'll be seeing you all week with news updates. And then, of course, Match Day Live for Genoa and another post-match podcast. Thanks again, everybody, for the continued support. And let's keep pushing for 2K. I want to get there by season's end. There's only a few matches left. Let's go. Spread the word. Jerseys, okay? Let's go. Let's give this away to some lucky subscriber. Fino alla fine. Forza Juve. Let's go.